Hello again and welcome back everybody to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC and today we're going to do something slightly different. So I was sitting here with the family. We had a little bit of snow. I am recording this on Saturday, so it'll probably be released on Sunday. But we kind of got some snow this morning, and so we decided to stay in, thus brought up movie time. And flipping around, we actually landed on Castaway. And to no surprise, you'll see it in the thumbnail and everything else. But while watching the movie, I actually started picking apart as a prepper. Now, I know it's Hollywood, it's all scripted and things like that. But the point of this video is going to be that you can take things and use them to your advantage. And so, while yes, it's a Hollywood make believe whatever, we can still look at it and try and learn from it. Okay. And so, I'm going to go over 10 things with you, and we're just going to kind of talk about them for just a little bit on each one. So, the first one, you've got the main character. He's doing his life. You're seeing him. He's sitting down with family, eating, going through trading Christmas gifts and whatnot. Uh, then he gets on his airplane so he can go do something else because you see him. He's getting on and off airplanes a lot, and so it's no big deal. It's just everyday normal life. His airplane is your car, and so he boards up the airplane, and then boom, SHTF happens, which is our first point. So SHTF, more than likely, at least if you have the luck that I normally have, SHTF is going to happen at the worst possible time. Okay, and so it brings up into the thing that you're going to need to be prepared as best as you can, as often as you can. Usually, it's going to be that one time where you just let your guard down, or you need something, so you just throw on a pair of flip flops and your pajamas, and you know 20-degree weather because the gas station's only 10 minutes up the road. That's usually when something bad happens, right? And so the second point is going to be throughout the movie, as we're going to get into it, that little segue pops up and says 4 years later. Okay, we don't know how long an SHTF event's going to happen. In his case, he was there for over 4 years during that. He's by himself. He's got only himself to count on, and we're going to break down, some of the other things throughout the movie. But it goes into it. When it happens, we don't know if it's going to be a day, a weekend, a couple of weeks, a month, or in this instance, 4 years. Okay, so uh, and one thing I'm going to throw in, kind of as a side note, if you saw him in there where he's making little marks on the cave wall, he's got his own calendar, and he says it in the movie, and I'm going to probably butcher it, but you live by time and you die by time. And it's kind of that whole premise to where keeping record of some sort of calendar is going to be important, because you get cold snaps when it's supposed to be warm. You get, warm spells when it's supposed to be cold. I mean, here in Ohio, February is probably one of the coldest months, and we're going to see days in the 70s. And so, if you don't have any sort of a calendar, I mean, for me, if I get up and all of a sudden I have 2 or 3 days where it's like 60s and 70s, I'm like, okay, well, all the cold weather's behind us. I might go out and start planting crops and do different things. And then, a week, 2 weeks later, I got 2 inches of snow and all my stuff's dead. So it's going to be important to have some sort of timekeeping, at the best you possibly can. So number two is kind of like an intelligence. So when he lands on that island after everything happens, one of the first things that he does is he starts looking around, and he starts gathering up some of the packages. He starts walking around the island. He sees the tall kind of mountain thing, and so he climbs up there and he gets a better vantage point. Like, I'm giving him like a score. Okay, good. You're gathering intel of what do you have, what's your resources, what's available, is there anybody there? You're gathering up those packages. maybe there's something in there that you can use. And I give him his credit. He utilizes pretty much all of that stuff. Again, I know it's Hollywood. Uh, and then the way that he's doing it, okay, I need to get a higher vantage point. It's going to give me a much better view of the island. It's going to give me a much better view of my surroundings. If you don't climb up there can be an island that has people on it, that you could see from up there, but you're not going to see it from down if you never climb up there. So getting to that high point was a really smart thing to do. 3, I'm calling it the coconut scene. Now, I was going to put pictures and images and play little clips and stuff. I'll probably get smacked for copyright, but bear with me. So the coconut scene. Now, throughout this movie, you can see where he first starts. He grabs the coconut and he's thirsty, he's hungry, and he's just smashing at it, and all the milk goes everywhere, and all that. And then as you see the movie progress, he starts getting better and better at it, and he starts realizing what he's got to do, and he takes his time a little bit more, and he starts uh, opening them in different ways to where he's getting more with less work. And so that's a very, very smart thing to do, is that even though he is on a deserted island, he's taking the time as the movie progresses to calm himself and figure out the situation. Look at it, figure it out, do it. And for me, I'm sitting here going, all right, you're pretty much failing. You're getting better. Attaboy. Okay. Now, next one we're going to talk about is injury. Now, in the beginning, they already show you he's going into this thing with some sort of abscess tooth or cavity or whatever, and so he's already going into this as a bad thing. And he even says it throughout the movie of, I should have went a long time ago. He put it off. Okay, and that's number one. You got something medically with you, you need to go get it taken care of soon. Okay, you don't know when SHTF is going to happen. For him, I'm just going to go next week. You may not get the chance next week. If you got something going on, you need to go get checked. But when it goes into injury, when he was out there, and I think he was relieving himself into the ocean, if I remember correctly, uh, that's when he sees that boat way, way, way off in the distance. And what's he do? He freaks and he panics. And in the mode of desperation, he just ventures out there. And that's where he takes and he gets flipped over on his little raft, and the reef gets into his leg, and now he's injured. All right, so bad right there, right? Desperation. If you are desperate, you're going to make dumb decisions. That could have been a heck of a lot worse. And really, you're taking out a leg. That's an important appendage that you're definitely going to need. Especially you're by yourself. You are the only person that you can depend on for all of this stuff. And so therefore, you're going to have to take your time. You're going to have to think things through. You're going to have to watch and figure out, all right, what is my threat level? Am I going to get hurt doing this? Because if the rate of getting injured is up high versus the reward, it's probably not a good idea. If he would have sat there and taken 30 seconds and been like, okay, is this smart? No, the risk of getting injured to getting that boat, however many miles that thing was out there, the reward was basically nothing. And so that was a really dumb move. Now, the next time he got injured was when he was trying to start a fire. Again, what was it? Out of desperation. He was sitting there trying to do it this way, and that wasn't working. And so he went to another method. I give him his credit that he was like, all right, this obviously isn't working. What do I do? So he switched over, but he didn't think things through. Again, he got desperate. He needed that fire. He sliced his hand open. So now you got a leg injury. Now you got a hand injury. I mean, one or two more, and he probably would not have made it. So it's another thing to condition yourself. Remember, a lot of SHTF is going to be mental. It's going to be about you being in a high stressed environment. Can you stop and assess and think things through? Uh, just something to take from it. Let's move on. Let me make sure I'm still good. Okay, I've still got green light. All right, so number 5 is his resourcefulness. So when he was starting out. He didn't have anything, and so as he went throughout that movie, he started uh, using tools of very very primitive. He was using rocks and different things like that. Then he started opening up the packages. Then he started really getting the motor running and all the wheels turning in his head to where he's like, all right, if I rip this apart, I can fashion a net. If I utilize the ice skates, now I have a cutting device and different things. And the way that that goes into it, it's that ability to stop, think, and then you start being creative and you start improvising. Because even in some of those like fire scenes, he was taking some of that paper and that boxing and using it as tinder. Extremely smart. He was taking the boxes and putting it down for bedding. Really smart. Like he used everything that he had there to his advantage. Now, next is what everybody remembers of the movie is Wilson. And when it comes to him and creating Wilson, it's very iconic because that's what I really, really like stress into this channel is networking. Okay. He's there by himself. Now he doesn't know how long he's going to be there, but it really wasn't that long of time before all of a sudden Wilson is born. And why? Because you're alone. Humans are social creatures. We don't like being alone. Now, yes, for me, go put me out in the woods for a little while and let me be by myself. I enjoy that. Put me out there for a year by myself. I mean, that's why in prisons they give you solitary confinement, is because 99.9% of people cannot go that way alone. You're social. You need to be around other people. You need to talk. And so that's where that comes in. And he had to resort to basically kind of like a childlike state of mind to where he made a imaginary friend. And really, I think it helped. It kept his sanity to where he had something that he can communicate, something that he obviously, kind of cared about and different other things. And I really think it showcased a lot when it comes to your mental statehood during all of this. Next is going to be fire. Okay. So fire is extremely important, and even on a warmer climate area, you still need fire. So he needed it for signaling. He needed it for cooking. If he would have went through, he could have used it for boiling the water. They had made fresh water out of the seawater. There's a lot of different things, but he needed fire. And so, and really that crab scene really showed he had an abundance of crabs, but he couldn't cook it in order to make it to where he could actually eat it. And that seemed to be a lot of what the movie was, is here's a resource, but you don't have exactly what you need to really utilize everything. But it really goes to showcase how important fire is. You need to have methods, different methods of fire. You need to have the different understanding of those methods, and you need to carry them with you all the time. Even when he got rescued and he's back home, remember the scene where he's sitting there playing with the lighter and he's going, man, it'd have been really nice to have this. Don't be that guy. Carry fire with you always. There's no excuse not to have a Bic lighter or some sort of something like that in your pocket at all times. Even if you're on property, take it with you. And they make those little tiny ferro rods and stuff like that that are like keychain size. Throw it on your keys. Hopefully it'll just dangle there and that'll be the end of it. But that day ever comes, it's going to be there. So, take that little snippet and learn from that. Next is going to be food and water. Now, he was surrounded by the ocean, but again, he can't drink it. You cannot drink salt water. And so it's that whole big tease. You're sitting there under the hot sun and you're dying of thirst, staring at nothing but water in the 360-degree. And it's that horrible tease to where it comes back again and it's a mental game. And again, it goes back into the food part. He had all these coconuts, but he had a really difficult time trying to get them down, collect them, open them, and it took a lot of work and a lot of effort for very little reward. Same thing when he goes into like the fish and the crabs and things like that. He gets one of those little minnow things in the net and he pops it straight in his mouth and he's like, man, This would be a lot better if it was cooked. He goes over and he stabs the crab, breaks it apart, and all that ooze starts coming out of it. Again, be really great if he could cook it. If you could make fire and you would have got one of those fish or one of this or one of that, and you could cook, you know how much that would just mentally uplift you? It's almost be like a comfort food. For that little bit of time, everything would just relax. And it would be really, really great for your situation to be able to just sit there and enjoy the calories and enjoy the warmth of it. And so, again, it does go back into the last one of fire. Now, next is going to be shelter. Now, in the very beginning, granted, yeah, he probably didn't know that he was going to be there that long, and it took him a little bit of time to get to the cave. But that very beginning, that shelter was horrible. I give him a little bit of points that he did think, all right, I need shelter, but as that storm come through and it just kind of, he was all out into the elements and everything like that. It goes to show you when something happens, let's say that you're hiking or you're doing something and you have to cut through the woods to get home or whatever, you don't know how long you're going to be there. So you need to take it that as of right now, when it comes down that, all right, I'm in a SHTF situation. I could be rescued in 10 minutes. It could be 10 days, 10 weeks. You need to just get your mindset into it. All right, what do I need first? Do I need food? Do I need water? Do I need shelter? Do I need fire? You need to start getting things prepared and going into that, because I see this a lot reading all these different prepping survival stories, is that all of a sudden they start kind of panicking and they go, well, I can just walk out of here. Well, they walk and they walk and they walk, and then they get hungry, they get thirsty, they're getting deeper and deeper away from civilization, and it's starting to become nightfall. They haven't gathered any supplies to build a shelter or build a fire. They haven't looked for any sort of fresh water. They haven't done anything at all. And even if they would have been rescued in an hour later, they would have been set up that if they weren't being rescued, they would have set themselves up for a lot better chance of survival. So it goes into that. Learn from this. And then the last thing that I kind of want to do is going to be that once help was there, once he got, to that point of being rescued, one, he realized that nobody's coming. Okay. He's completely on his own, kind of like when SHTF happens. When we're talking about a major SHTF, more than likely, like comms and things like that's going to be down. So you're probably not going to be able to call friends, family. You're definitely not going to be able to call 911. All that. You are your own first responder. You are your own savior. You are the one that's going to be the one that decides what's going to happen to you. And so for him, he decided either I die here or I take the chance. And he took the chance, and he went out and he got himself, self rescued. Now, I give him his credit that he did put out different things while he was on the island of putting out signals and doing different fires and different things like that to try and gain attention. Things, very, very smart moves. Now, they didn't work, but it doesn't matter. On that, at least he set himself up to have that option. And I see some people that will go into that and they will say, well, he wasted a bunch of time and a bunch of resources and this and that. No, I'm telling you right now, you get into that like survival situation, stay busy. That time when you start just sitting down, that's where your mind's just going to go, and you're going to start freaking and you're going to start becoming desperate. And you're going to make really dumb decisions. Stay busy. I mean, one of the biggest things that I like to do when I try and help people and do some sort of like a training or an exercise or whatnot is, all right, here we are. We've already decided it's SHTF. Okay, so what do we do? And people will sit there and look at you and they'll go, well, no. Right now, this very second, what is the first thing that's going to kill you? Okay, well, we need water, we need food, we need shelter, we need this, we need that, whatever it is. Whatever the first thing that's going to take you out, solve that problem. Once it's done, okay, what's the next thing that's going to take me out? Solve that problem. Continue solving those problems, okay? And trust me, as long as you've got something to do, your mind is going to be focused on doing that. And you're going to be able to function better. You're going to think a lot more clear. You're going to make smarter decisions as you go through. And so you get into there, and maybe you have a backpack and you got a little bit of food and a little bit of water, but you're like, all right, it's probably going to get cold tonight, and I've only got a few hours of daylight. Okay, now is your chance to decide which is going to be it. Do I need to build a shelter first, or do I need to build a fire first? And make that decision. Don't take a bunch of time and go back and forth and all this. Take 2 minutes or whatever you need. Take a small amount of time, think it through. All right, I've got X amount of time, and I'm going to need a fire first, because if I don't find enough material to make a shelter, at least I can be by the fire and stay warm. Okay, focus on the fire. Then look and see if you got the fire going, you got firewood, and you can keep it going. Grab the stuff, get your shelter made. Then after that, you can be like, well, while I was gathering stuff, I saw that there was a little berry bush over there. I'm going to go over there and grab a little bit of that. Maybe then you might hear like a creek or something like that, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go check that out. Maybe there's some water or some food over there. Do things like that. Just keep going. Just keep working. Keep going. The moment you sit down is going to be really bad news. Okay, trust me on that. Just keep on going. So, but I was shooting for about 20 minutes ish. I see that I have run a little over, so I apologize. But I wanted to do this. It was kind of a fun video for me to do, to be able to do this. If you guys enjoyed stuff like that, let me know. I may do some more of these things to where maybe I review a book or a movie or different things and just kind of pick it apart as like a prepper and a survivalist and things like that, just to kind of give an aspect. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? How can we learn from it? It doesn't have to be something to where it's a certain lifestyle or genre or whatever. You can take a lot of things and just look at it, and even if it's only one scene in the movie, if it's a good scene that is educational for us, let's take a peek at it and let's learn. That's kind of the whole point of everything. When you get into something, whether it's a YouTube, whether it's a book, whether it's in person, whether it's a class, whatever it is, focus on what you need to get into. Take the stuff that brings value and substance to your life, hold it in, utilize that, and all the stuff that it doesn't pertain to you, or it's not something that you need, or you already know it, push it off. Don't focus on that. Don't get into there like, well, I already know this, I'm just going to look over here and not pay attention. No, because in 2 minutes later, it might be that thing that you actually do need to pay attention to. So go into things, have an open mind, and utilize what you can that helps you, and then move on from there. So if you made it this far into this video, guess what? I'm going to give you two. So you rock. I appreciate you for spending a little bit of your Sunday with me. This was a lot of fun to make again. As you can tell, I'm excited about this one. This one was really fun. But that's what I've got for you. So thank you again for spending a little bit of time. Do all the fun YouTube things down there. You guys know what to do. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of the day. And stay tuned, because there's more information to come. If you've seen me before, you know I'm about to say, so say it with me now. You ready? Above everything else, remember to remain united, because we're all prepping in this together.